I did it my way. Welcome to season 4, episode 19 of the Scandalous Scandal Recap. I'm just a Bill. It is Thursday. We are Eastern Standard Time right now. I'm Larry Brown Jr. Welcome to the Scandalous Scandal Recap. We have so much to talk about, so much to catch up with. We were off for a week because Scandal was off. Guess who is here with me? It is Janiyah Wright, and she's dressed quite fanciful in her finery. Janiyah, are you dressed for a special occasion tonight?
I am, LBJ. I'm glad you asked. You know, we knew Marcus was coming back, and so I said, you know what, tonight's the night to break out my colorful turban. So this is a special dedication to Marcus.
Well, Janiyah, I hope that Marcus is watching and you will get what you want as it relates to Marcus Walker on Scandal. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tweeting. Thank you for retweeting. Thank you for posting on the Google Plus page. Thank you for telling your people on Facebook. Thank you for everything. If you are just joining for the first time, we ask that you use the hashtags so that we can follow what you're saying. We ask that if you're watching us on Google Plus, you can write right here in the Q&A. And you can post your comments. People will comment back to you. We will mention your comments here. And we like to engage in a dialogue. Enough with the instructions. You all know social media at this point. Let's dive into this conversation tonight. We began this episode.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we began this episode with my television role model, the one and only Rowan Pope. Janiyah, I was ready for it. I was totally ready for it.
LBJ, can I tell you, I was a little upset tonight because I had actually watched some of the sneak peeks on ABC.com. And so I had actually already seen a little bit of the Papa Pope speech. It was such a spoiler. I will not make that mistake again, LBJ, but you're right. It was so good, LBJ. I mean, we walk it. There he is, sitting in Olivia's house. Okay, as if he was an invited guest. You're not invited here, Papa Pope, you know? And LBJ, he's just sitting there, just so smug, looking as invincible as always. LBJ, what was your reaction in that moment?
Janiyah, I was really sitting there the entire time like, like, what is he gonna say? What is he gonna do? What is he gonna say? I love it. I love it. I love it. Like, I loved every single moment of the Rowan Pope and Olivia scene, as I do with every other moment that they share on the show. ABC did a really cool thing, and they did all of Papa Pope's epic one-liners or something like that from his various speeches, and they did a whole mashup of them in preparation for his return tonight. And they killed it. They did the hell in the high water.
Yes,
they did the You Are a Boy. They pulled out all of the taglines from his various monologues. And tonight's monologue did not disappoint, Janiyah. I mean, this man told Olivia Pope, he said, no matter how far you run, no matter how white the night, and he emphasized white the night, no matter how white the night, all men are just like your father. Mm-hmm. They're just like your father. And then he said to Olivia to kind of build her, because remember, he's still a father to her. He has to build her up. He has to encourage her. He has to cause her to be great. He has to push her into that next realm of Olivia-ness that she can be. And he told her, he said, you are a warrior. You're never reckless or naive. You are too smart to let fear drive you. You will wait for the right time. You are calculated. You will pick a side, and then you will handle the situation like it needs to be handled as it relates to the B613 case, because that's why Papa Pope is in her apartment doing all this talk with her. He says, you will do what needs to be handled, and you will burn it down like it needs to be. And then I love what he goes, he does like this with some of his lines. He'll be talking, Rowan Pope will be talking, Joe Morton will be like, Olivia, you will do this. I am a sophisticate, and you will do that. I am educated. You will do this. I'm a paleontologist. I'm a Smithsonian, and you will do what I tell you to do. Like, that's his formula for delivering his monologues. You ever notice that?
OBJ, we love it when he does it, but we really love it when you do it. I mean, I just love when you just impersonate him. It's so great. We all enjoy it so very much. LBJ.
I think I might start talking to people at work like that. I'll just like say, you know, I really like you to do this, I like you to do that, but I really want you to do this.
LBJ, if you don't do that once per conversation for the rest of our lives, I'll be extremely disappointed. LBJ, Papa Pope sitting there on that couch, just so, I mean, his attitude of just, I am command, I'm in control. He starts the whole scene, LBJ, basically mocking her, acting like he's a client that needs her help. Someone's building a case against me. I'm just a paleontologist. And someone's saying that I'm the head of a secret organization called B613. Can you help me, Olivia Pope? He starts the whole scene mocking her. And he continues to mock her throughout the course of that scene. Because whenever Rowan Pope talks about Olivia as his daughter, he's mocking her once again, LBJ. Because all he is ever doing is reminding her that she is his creation, which is the thing that she hates about herself, LBJ. And he makes sure to rub it in her face anytime he can. Anytime. And LBJ, Olivia was there. She stayed strong. She looked him in the eye, just like the warrior he created, LBJ. She looked him in the eye and said, I will choose sides, and I'm not choosing you.
Yeah, and you know what? Just as sure she said, I'm not choosing you. His reply, you were perfect. This is why, Janiyah, you and I are friends. We are always in sync. We are always in tandem when it comes to having conversations. Because Rowan Pope, in turn, said back to Olivia one of my favorite lines of the night. And he says to her, he says, and Olivia, remember, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, poison as it may be. And I was just like, yeah, like, Olivia, you gotta change this whole thing. But, you're poison just like your daddy is. He had to read her and get her straight. Like, that's totally what Rowan Pope did tonight. Everybody's in the Q&A right now, Janiyah, enjoying some of this thing. Dan Blakemore, hey, Dan, thank you so much for watching tonight. Please, Dan instructs me, please don't use that Papa Pope extra voice at work. Please don't do it.
That's good advice, Dan. That's good advice. LBJ, there's something else. They're talking about things they have in common. Papa Pope, he said it. Olivia said it. They both feel that everything they're doing in the name of justice, LBJ.
Yes.
And it's so interesting that they're fighting for justice, LBJ, and all they do is break rules. And they are doing it in the name of America, in the name of the us with the capital U, And LBJ, it's just so crazy because all of this is so real. The wheeling and the dealing necessary to get things done and to survive in Capitol Hill and to survive in politics. This is real life, LBJ, and that is what makes it so sad.
It is what makes it so sad, Janiyah. But just as we saw on the show tonight, Rowan Pope told Olivia, he said, look, daughter, I know you very well, and you're just like me. This is before the apple falling far from the tree line. And he told her, he said, the Republic must stand at all costs. The Republic must stand at all costs, and that's just what we're seeing between Olivia and her father, and quite frankly, her mother on this television show. But how about how Olivia, while we were in the apartment after the entire thing, remember last week or 2 weeks ago when we were watching the show, Rowan Pope showed up to Olivia's door by way of Russell, aka Alex's jump off, Alex's Mr. Get Right, and we saw Russell at the door last week and 2 weeks ago, and we were all like, okay, is Russell B613? Is Russell, like, we didn't know if he was being overtaken by Rowan, but we saw tonight who Russell really is. But how cool was it when Olivia played it off when Russell came to, and she was like, oh, we just had so much fun. And the wine, we killed 3 bottles of wine. I'm like, this man's not believing you, right? Like, there's no wine, there's no glass, like, there's nothing around. Like, he's not believing you.
Well, you know what, LBJ? If he was not a super secret agent that was already running a game on Olivia, yes, he would have believed it. You would be very surprised what women can plant into the minds of men. And it doesn't take a B613 knockout to make it happen. So LBJ, don't get too cocky, LBJ. Everything you're saying right now, Candace probably told you to say, you just don't remember. So don't have too much faith, okay, in the male psyche. All right, let's just not get it twisted. Okay.
No. I have to disagree with you and let you know that I think like Russell was totally not buying it. He knew what was going to happen. Like, he knows that this man, he's probably some fatherless guy that needs a daddy figure, and Rowan took him in. He's B613 now. but he had to know that Olivia was crapping him around. Let me just have a sidebar for a moment, Janaya. It just dawned on me that Rowan is using, and this is what really got me thinking about this. This is from D Hill. D Hill's in the Q&A. D Hill says Rowan knows his daughter. She has sex and makes poor choices. Is it that this educated woman has this weakness and is being simped by her father in the situation? Like, this is completely the opposite of what people are fighting for in social justice and just in activism in general, online, in life, in our communities today. Like, they're fighting to have daughters with fathers, not present fatherless daughters. Like, this is some kind of sick, twisted thing that Rowan's doing with his daughter. Would you agree or no?
I mean, this is like item number 577 on the list of twisted things Rowan has done to his daughter. I mean, he's the absolute worst. I mean, over the chats, LBJ, you've tried to give me faith in Rowan as a father figure. You've tried to tell me that he loves her in his way. And LBJ, I continue to disagree with you. I mean, he literally just continues to use her as a pawn. The only way that he shows love is by not killing her to this point. That's it. That restraint alone, LBJ. And at the end of the day, this is some deep-seated weakness or twistedness in Rowan that we haven't fully resolved yet. Because you have to remember, he also has kept Maya Pope alive, sitting in the bowels of the justice system.
Oh, yes.
LBJ, so he has this thing he's doing where he's manipulating the people that he quote unquote loves and using them as pawns and controlling them. And somehow, LBJ, this is how he shows love. Anyway, yeah, LBJ, he's super twisted. And it's just so interesting, LBJ. Last week when we saw Russell standing there in that doorway, we guessed, LBJ, we predicted that he probably was working with Rowan. You know, that was one of the scenarios we talked through.
That's true.
And LBJ, it turned out to be true. You know, I will say this, when you think about it, you know, the way that Russell and Olivia met, it seemed so organic. She was out that night, you know, LBJ, from what to us, it looked like a spur of the moment decision that she was out that night, right? But somehow, even in that spur of the moment scenario, Rowan was working a plan that would react to whatever it was Olivia was doing to start to have his wheels in motion. The other thing that's so interesting about all this, LBJ, is that Russell and Jake, you know what? Somehow they managed to both exist in B613, and they had never actually interface with each other. It's just another one of these things that we're peeling back the onion about B613 and understanding how Rowan has manipulated even the men, the people that work for him as B613.
You're right. You're totally right. Speaking of B613, Kimmy J is here. Kimmy J, welcome back. We haven't seen you in a while. Kimmy J says, you guys were right. Oh boy, was a member of B613. We were absolutely right, and we were on it with that. Candace Brown is in the Q&A. Hey, Candace.
Hey, Candace.
Russell was used by Olivia as a way to lessen the complications in her life to keep her company since she's afraid to sleep alone. Somehow Rowan played on that. Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Totally did. And in the midst of all of this going on tonight, we've got all these different things playing on in tonight's episode. And one of the things that kind of spun off of that conversation with Rowan and Olivia in her apartment was the conversation in David Rosen's office, the Attorney General, where he's speaking to Jake about B613, and then he mentions Remington. And he's like, that's in there? He said, yeah, there's a footnote about Remington. What about Remington? Meanwhile, Olivia's sitting there the entire time with this like listening side. I know you're not gonna, I'm not saying anything. I know exactly what he's talking about. That's my mama and my daddy he's talking about. And they go on to this whole Remington bit, and Jake divulges that the president was involved in Remington, Fitzgerald Grant. Yes. What about that moment?
LBJ, crazy. You know, because you have to realize that there were only a few B613 files left, right? The only B613 files that were left, LBJ, were the ones that, if I recall correctly, they were the ones that Huck had stolen, or the ones that were given to Huck to validate his experience in B613 for his wife. So they were really just a subset of the files, LBJ. Most of the files, Rowan had already, through his very Rowanish ways, gotten back. You know, he had replaced the actual the library of B613 files that David Rosen and Jake had stolen and had their hands on with fluff, we all can recall. So LBJ, there was only a few files left. LBJ, what are the chances that those few files, the ones, they all fit into one little box, LBJ? And the box didn't seem that heavy. One little, not that heavy box, LBJ. And there, in the footnote, LBJ, was a mention of Remington. It was just like, what in the world are the chances? Now, of course, Olivia had said directly to Rowan's face and to others that she was ready to watch Fitz be implicated. But LBJ, was she? Was she really ready?
Yeah, was she really? I don't know. I think that was she really ready question might yield a yes. I don't know. It remains to be seen. But what I do know is that what that did was make Jake more of a target for Rowan to take down and be 613. And sadly tonight, at the end of the episode, we saw that Jake went down. It was one of those moments where it was just like, I'm screaming and hollering. I think we were hanging in the green room. You probably heard me screaming on this end, like, because like Kimmy J, we predicted that Jake would die this season here in the Scandal recap. If you guys go back and watch, we predicted it here. Kimmy J says, Jake, Lord Jesus, flatline. Jake is gone, everybody. Jake is gone. They even confirmed it for us in that, Jake is out of here. They confirmed it for us in the tease for next week because Jake is on the table dead, and there's no like muscle spasms where he like jumps up and like comes back to life. No, Jake is gone, everyone. And I love this comment here. This is from a newer person, I believe. I just saw it. This always happens, guys, when I'm going to pull something up and then it leaves the hopper. But it's talking about, it was from Albany WW. Albany, wherever you are, please bring your comment back. But she said in the comment, if I'm quoting it correctly, she said the sexual healer was the killer. Janaya, surprise, surprise.
And LBJ, it's just poetry. Because how many times, sidebar, in real life does that happen? I'll tell you, more often than you might think. Now, LBJ, I'm going to say this. Russell, he really, truly, Olivia was trying to leverage him as a means to an end. She was trying to have someone there to stay warm with. She was trying to, have some escape from her reality. But at the end of the day, LBJ, the one who really wanted to be there for her, LBJ, the one who wanted to escape with her in a real way, it was Jake, right? Even in tonight's episode, he said to Olivia, he went to check on her. And he said, Olivia, you're allowed to be scared. You're allowed to be, nervous and afraid right now. He, LBJ, in the midst of all of this, being afraid for his life, knowing that he's being targeted, he stopped to go and remind Olivia that he was there for her unconditionally. And LBJ, she spent all this time now with Russell trying to escape and find peace when the peace was right there. And then it is just so poetic that Russell kills the only peace she probably ever had a chance of getting. And that would have been with Jake. Russell took it right out. So literally at the hands of her father, the only person that probably could have been her redemption was stabbed literally to the death in her own office.
In her own office, and by the man that she made call her Alex. Janaya. It was just like it was just like nectar just flowing. It's like all this nectar just like was bottled up and they just said, and like just drank all of that nectar like right there. Like it was just like nectar flowing in the entire episode with the one guy. Like it was just crazy. Like yes. I was very taken aback by that scene with the whole, she's like, call me Alex, like call me. I'm like, Olivia, like really? What's really going on?
Yeah, LBJ. I mean, she was trying to use a seduction tactic. Little did she know she was the one that had been seduced.
Mm-mm.
And LBJ, you know what? I will tell you who in this episode was not being seduced by power or corruption, and that was
Who it is.
our vice president herself, LBJ, Susan Ross. LBJ, her storyline tonight was so comical to me. LBJ, so, first of all, just to remind everybody about the backstory, we had an opportunity to get any vice president that we wanted. And we went and got the person who we thought for sure would absolutely be the worst. Okay. We went and got the vice president who we thought would just allow herself to be a pawn, would not at all be a force to be reckoned with. And we ended up with Susan Ross. And LBJ tonight she really continued to make her stand on this presidency. What did you think of that storyline, LBJ?
Janiyah, I totally love the Susan Ross storyline. I've loved the Susan Ross storyline since our very first time meeting Susan Ross in the television show. I think it was last season when Olivia came in, to shut down her whole shop. Look, let me help you out, sister girlfriend. And I love that entire I love her entire persona from the jump. And now she is holding true to who she is, and she's sitting there with this entire bill all over the table, going through everything and just making a complete mess, but it's a mess that makes sense. And to me, Susan Ross, everything about her, the way that they dress her, everything just says a big mess. And the way she talks, but it's like an educated mess. And I really love all that she brings to the table for Scandal. Someone who is this, D Hill says #VP Ross has got the power. Other folks are in here talking about D Hill again. She says, I am here for Susan Ross. I am here for Susan Ross. Then there is Deborah Battle also. Don't sleep on the new VP. Susan Ross is about business. They set themselves up when it came to putting Susan Ross in the White House.
They really did, LBJ. And tonight, I think we all had mixed emotions about Susan Ross, because the bill that we were actually trying to pass tonight, LBJ, is the bill that was, inspired by the police brutality episode, right? This was the episode where there was a young man shot down.
Wait. That was not police brutality. That was racial profiling and a murder. Let's call that thing a thing and say
call it what it is. Yeah. # make it plain. Thank you for the correction, LBJ. LBJ, and this was inspired by the murder of a young man by a police officer. And LBJ, Fitz was so excited that a bill that was going to bring some controls into the police departments across the country was going to pass. They had done their willing, they had done their dealing, and LBJ, they took for granted. They had already put Susan Ross on the "will vote for us" side, LBJ. She literally, they just knew for sure that she was going to be on their side. And LBJ, when it came down to it, she says, you know what? I'm not just going to vote because you tell me to vote, LBJ. She said, I don't care what the larger, grander mission is here for this bill. I'm going to read all 1,200 pages of this bill and see exactly what it is it's going to do. And I'm going to evaluate it. Why? Because that is what the American people would want me to do. LBJ, and then she did it. She sat there with highlighters, Post-it notes, okay? She was getting, dictionaries out from hither and thither, okay? And she read through that entire 1,200 pages, flagged the whole document up, and LBJ, she had questions. And Cyrus, he's rallying the masses to try to quiet and pacify Susan Ross. LBJ, she could not be pacified. Cyrus tried to pacify her, didn't work. Melly tried to pacify her, didn't work. In fact, not only did Melly fail at shutting her down, Melly got told the truth. What did you think of Susan Ross and Melly's interaction tonight?
I thought it was great. I love Melly. There's always a special place in my heart for Melly in the television show. But tonight it was great because Susan Ross, got Melly told in her Susan Ross way. And it was just she's like, yo, I got a question for you, Miss First Lady. Wait, weren't you're a lawyer. You went to law school, Miss First Lady. Wait, as a matter of fact, Miss First Lady, you finished higher than your husband in law school, didn't you, Miss First Lady? This Miss First Lady, I'm going to check your regions right, but I want to make sure I'm checking you the right way. Let me know I'm checking you the right way. And she's like, yeah. Like she set Melly up to give her no other choice but to say, yeah, you're right, Susan Ross, you're right. And then Fitz was like, well, I got another thing. She won't vote for it, so let's do this. And then bam, here's Melly at the podium.
Right. And LBJ, when Melly is there trying to manipulate Susan Ross basically called her out. She said, you know what, Melly, I know that I'm only here so that you won't have a strong opponent when it comes time for you to run. And Melly said, wherever did you hear that? Who told you I was going to run? Innocently, looking off into the sky. And Susan Ross said, listen, I'm no fool. I know that I'm literally here as a pawn in your bid for presidency. But she says, you know what? Despite that, I'm going to do my job as best I can. And she shut that down, LBJ. David Rosen went in and once again shut down. Susan Ross, she would not be quiet until, to your point, LBJ, she got Fitz in there. He's now listening to her, questioning all of the bill. And her largest issue with the bill, LBJ, was that there was no enforcement. There had been so much compromise. The bill was so watered down that it was going to end up being completely ineffective. And so Fitz, he capitulated. He said, you know what? Let's pull the bill. Susan Ross not only has she prevailed, LBJ, she may be making an ally out of Fitz.
Oh, that's good. You're right. I didn't even think about that. Look at Janiyah making strategies and making predictions early on in the Scandal recap. What you guys got to say about Janiyah making all these predictions early on in the conversation? I love it.
And Dan Blakemore raises the question, the vice president has the power now. Will she end up fighting Melly to succeed Fitz? Aha! That's the question.
I can see it. So are you ready for Melly or are you ready for Susan? Who are you going to be? Or are you ready for Hillary Banks? Are you ready for
Hillary Banks?
Oh, wait. Dan Blakemore also shouts you out, Janiyah. He says to you, he's like, our first hither and thither of the night. You dropped it for Dan. He loves it when you do that.
Wait, LBJ, sidebar. Do you know I said it at work?
Really?
I did, and apparently it's been more than once because someone called me out about it. And I said, these hithers and thithers seem to be working their way into my daily language. What are you going to do?
So you asked, what am I going to do? I think since you're using hither and thither in your job, I think that I'm obligated to talk to people like this at work, and maybe I'll do it in like one-on-ones with people. I'm talking to them, and I'll say, when you go back to your office, you're gonna do this.
I think
like Rowan, I think I'll do that. I think I'll try that.
It's the right thing to do. I think it's right, LBJ, because you know what? We're spending so much time. We're very dedicated to this show. If we can't bring some of this back into our day-to-day realities, what's it all for, LBJ? What's it all for?
Well, what's this all for, Janiyah? Yolanda Baker is in the Q&A tonight. As always, Yolanda, how are you? Welcome. Janiyah, Shonda heard your wish and brought Marcus back, but don't know if he and Olivia will hook up now. Don't think he would have the stomach to handle it all. Janiyah, the spotlight is on you. We will give you your moments to stand on your soapbox and give us your best Marcus Walker. Save him, keep him on the show, make him a gladiator, put him in Olivia's bedroom. Or Alex's bedroom. Go. Or your own bedroom. Go.
I mean, I do have on my good turban. But LBJ, But LBJ, you know what? This episode was really one that I think gave us all some mixed emotions about Marcus, right? So, LBJ, how do we meet Marcus tonight? We meet Marcus, LBJ, literally sitting, he has called Olivia Pope and Associates, and he's sitting there half naked next to a bloody body of the wife of the mayor. And that's right, his opponent's wife. That's right. And she's sitting there bloody, dead as a doornail, and he's sitting there blood on his hands, looking so shocked she just can't believe it. And Olivia and Huck and Quinn, they get right to business. What has happened? Long story short, Marcus is having an affair and he witnessed the murder of the mayor's wife, also his lover. LBJ, instead of calling the police, he calls for what? Cover up. He calls for the fixer. And LBJ, he goes as far as to let this fixing get all the way to the point where the actual killer has been identified and is about to go free so that Marcus's career could move forward. And Marcus there, LBJ, has a change of heart at the last minute and decides he does not want to go through with the cover-up that he initiated. And he decides to come clean, where on national television, in a press moment, and he tells the whole truth and nothing but the truth. He discloses the affair, LBJ. He talks about the murder. Turns out the murderer is the mayor, LBJ, and he kind of washes his hands of the whole thing. He basically lets his career aspirations go for the sake of justice. LBJ, I had a lot of mixed emotions about that scene. What did you think?
So I was totally on board with everything that was going down with the Marcus Walker scenario. I even asked a couple folks, I asked my Twitter followers, I said, Marcus Walker, innocent or no, sound off. And the majority of people were saying Marcus is guilty. Marcus is guilty. Marcus committed the crime. I'm like, what they set Marcus's character up to be was not that. He was not a killer. Yes, there is some darkness inside of Marcus Walker. I mean, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory. Hello? Can I get with the church? Hello?
Yeah.
I wish I was preaching to the right people right now.
But it's true, LBJ, because you can't have a career as an activist and as a social justice person without having a little bit of anger in your spirit. That's what fuels you.
And it's the anger, or is there there's some kind of trickery? There's some darkness and infidelity or something. Dr. King had it. Malcolm X had it. You name them, they had it. And we are flesh. We are human beings. So yes, that being established, Marcus is not a killer. Marcus's darkness is not OPA darkness yet, if you ask me. So now that he doesn't have the opportunity to be mayor, even talking to Candace while we were watching the show, I'm just like, okay, he's not going to be mayor now. This makes it. We both are like, this makes it all the more reason for him to join OPA now. If he joins Olivia Pope and Associates, they can indoctrinate him into the culture of fixing. Remember, he raised questions tonight. So this is what you do. This is how it's done. And she kind of told, she had been schooling him throughout those different moments that they shared and what she does and how she gets it done. Yes, there are some times where justice prevails, justice is served, and they use their smarts to do something great. But then there comes a time when you think that justice might not be served and this person might be guilty. You got to protect this person. So you got to chop the body up and make it a missing persons case. And then the person just disappears into oblivion and we never see this person again. Do I think that this is the end of Marcus Walker? Absolutely not. I think that there's going to be, curiosity is going to not kill this cat, but curiosity is going to curate. It's going to curate. It's going to curate this cat. Ooh. And this cat is going to join Olivia Pope and Associates, and we will see more of Marcus Walker on this show as it progresses. That's how I felt about the entire situation. What I will say about that, though, with Marcus Walker, my favorite part of the Marcus Walker scenario tonight, Janiyah, was when Marcus was arrested and Olivia got the call to go to the police station to check on her client. And she breaks into the police station. She's like, why are you talking to my client? He's like, yeah, I didn't send that email. What are you talking about email? They say I sent the email. She said, say nothing else in. Have you arrested my client? And he's like, no. Were you arrested? Marcus says no. Did you read my client his Miranda rights? He says no. She asked Marcus, did they read your Miranda rights? He said no. She's like, well, my client was not arrested. This thing is over. You will not talk to him any longer. This is an illegal detaining. We're taking him out of here now, and that's the end all be all. I'm out. Peace. Oh, but wait, before I go, Mr. Police Chief, you tell me one thing. Do you see this man right here? He was like, yes, I do. She said, no, you don't see this man. You don't see this man because no one will know that he's here. He's a candidate for mayor, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and you will not see him. Do you see him standing there now? No, she says, like, Marcus, do you see this man, or do you see this? Marcus said, well, if I was, he said, well, I was not arrested. You didn't read my Miranda rights, this and the other. He said, wait, but I'm not saying this because I'm not here. I was just like, oh, power to the people.
Yeah,
right there. It's all going
right
down
on
tonight.
board.
It was so good. It was so good.
Right on board. He sure did, LBJ. And you know, all of that, the fact that he called Olivia to begin with, the fact that in that moment where he needed to get into the character Olivia wanted him to get into, the fact that he did all of that, we thought that he really, truly did have the kahunas, the goods for that public servant life, that wheel and dealing life. But LBJ, it turns out, no, he chose differently. And it's for that reason, LBJ, that I have to disagree with your prediction about him becoming a member of Pope and Associates. Now, listen, I want Marcus to be a part of our lives, you know, in any way that we can have him. Absolutely. But LBJ, you know, I just don't think that he can be in agreement with Olivia's lifestyle. I mean, she literally, throughout the course of the evening, throughout the course of the storyline, watching him make these trade-offs, she never really voiced her own opinion. As she always does, LBJ, she just gave him options. And she said to him, you can either have your career or you can have justice. And LBJ, he was trying to choose the career. He was trying. But at the end of the day, he chose justice. And LBJ, because of that, I just don't think that he would be able to agree with the way that Olivia gets things done enough to partner with her. Now, could he agree with it enough to become, I don't know, a very close friend? Well, I think that's possible. I think that he would be a great, you know, what she really needs, LBJ, is somebody to talk to who has not been sent by her father to kill her past lovers. I think Marcus will be a great love interest for her because he's a person who will challenge the good side of her. You know, we constantly see Olivia talking with the little angel on this shoulder and the devil on this shoulder, and she's talking over here. And this devil usually wins, LBJ. She usually does the thing that makes her feel bad, and she does it in the interest of the Republic. But she doesn't feel good about it, LBJ. I think that Marcus can sit right on that shoulder with that angel and help her to make some different decisions. Hashtag bring Marcus back with a little halo right over the hashtag.
Like the halo on your turban tonight. Yeah. Like the halo on your turban.
Yeah, like this. Yes. Yes, just like that.
Well, listen, though, Yolanda Baker is here, and Yolanda Baker is agreeing with me. LBJ, you're right. Olivia was helping out Marcus, just like Quinn Robin Lindsay, like Huck, like Abby. So Marcus and Gladiator. Wait till it was Janiyah. Please look at this. I get that. Janiyah put a halo. Janiyah has a halo, everyone. I'm over this entire thing now.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm done with that.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry.
But seriously, like, thank you, Yolanda Baker. You bring up a great point that, you know, Olivia, so the way Olivia operates, okay? We're learning this season who Olivia Pope is. We've been in this show for 3 seasons, and now, and here in the 4th season, we have an opportunity to get to learn who this woman is at her core.
Yes.
She has issues, just like we all have issues, but her issues are so deeply rooted that she thinks she has control and she doesn't. And she has to extend herself to people in various ways to make it right for her. She extends herself, she gives herself away to these men as Alex, as we remember when she was in grad school or whatever, they ran the record of who was in her bedroom, remember?
Right.
How much of a get down girl she was.
Yes, she was, but powerful men.
Powerful men. They ran the record on Olivia Pope. And again, we haven't seen her scandalous ways now because now we know that she's sleeping with the president. We've seen that the entire season. By the way, did you know that Olivia lived down the street from the White House? If you're listening to Rowan Pope's comments to her, he said the man down the street as if Olivia lives within the corridors of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Pick that up tonight on the show. Quote, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that. But we see all this going on with Olivia. And so we're at a place now where we're learning who she is, why she does what she does, why she drinks the wine, what the wine makes her do, what the coats, what mood she's in can determine what kind of coat she wears, what she would do to survive, what makes her tick, what makes her emotional, what makes her give in, what makes her do what makes Olivia do what she does on this television show, or in her life rather. And I appreciate that, and I think that she wants to bring Marcus to the side of OPA so that he can be on her team. She sees something in him. Remember when we met him at the murder scene of the young boy, she took a liking to that guy immediately. She took a liking to him. This is not the end, and I don't know if this is gonna be more of a, and I hate to say it, but it might end up being a Harrison-ish relationship, where if something happened to him, she'd be at the grave singing like a bridge, and we'd be listening like a bridge over troubled water again, and sobbing like it's the funeral all over again if something happened to Marcus Walker on this show. I think that's what's developing. We're getting to see what could have been another storyline on the show unfolding through another character.
Right. LBJ D. Hill raises the question, could Marcus assist Olivia with wearing the white hat again? I couldn't have said it better myself, D. Hill. Because LBJ, I do agree with you that there is space for Marcus in this show. There's space for that relationship. But you know what, LBJ? I will say it's been several seasons now where I have been wanting Olivia to have a friend that is not in cahoots with her to kill people and to hide murders, and to rig elections. You know, you'll recall a few episodes ago, I wanted Rose. Do you remember Rose, LBJ, from 227?
Yeah.
Hashtag 227 throwback.
Yeah,
right?
Marla Gibbs.
We wanted her to come and be that maternal figure that Olivia has never really had. She hasn't turned up again. And I'm hoping, again, that Marcus can come and actually be that friend to help her deal with some of these demons, especially since LBJ, she is not getting the professional help she needs. And we saw in tonight's episode, she's still having those PTSD flashbacks to her kidnapping, LBJ. She needs a friend. She needs some support. She needs Marcus.
I actually tweeted tonight, Janiyah is not going to live this Marcus thing down, folks. I promise you. She's going to hold on it until kingdom comes. I talked about Olivia needing someone on Twitter tonight, and I mentioned Rose. I mean, she needs she needs someone in her life, and she really needs a mother figure in her life. Her mother betrayed her. Her mother did the unthinkable in her eyes. Well, her father was already a given. Like, she already knew daddy was up to no good. But for mom, mom was hiding out in the bowels of the justice system. But there was more to mom's story than those bowels and that justice system. Yeah. And it was just so I don't know. She needs someone else. You're right. She does need a friend. I agree with you that maybe Marcus could be the person to help her put on the white hat again. She's considering wearing the white hat again because why? At the end of the episode, they raise a glass and toast to wearing white hats again. According to David Rose, when they're all toasting and shooting the scotch as a crew, and Jake is there and looks at Olivia for one last time before he takes his final breath.
LBJ, I have to backtrack again. Jake is gone.
Jake is gone, Janiyah. Like the reality. We've said this before in this episode tonight, guys, but Jake is gone just like that. I will say though, I'm not. I feel. Oh, look at Janiyah, guys. She's really going through. Like, sorry, Janiyah, but I'll say that I don't. I'm not really saddened by Jake's death, as I was saddened by James's death. Now, James's death. Oh man, when they took James out, I was just like, dang, man. Like James is gone. Like
all he wanted to do was be a good husband. A good husband and a good father. That's all he wanted.
Right. He wanted to be a daddy. He wanted to be a daddy and a husband and a good reporter. Exactly. He was trying to get his his Edward R. Murrow Award. That's all he wanted. That's all he wanted, LBJ. Meanwhile,
and they just could not let him live. They could not let him live.
But again, so this whole white hat scenario comes back with David Rosen, and they're all kind of side-eyeing the entire time at the end of the episode. And this is like, to me, that was their last hurrah. To me, it was you talked about poetic moments earlier in this recap. That moment at the end of the show was totally a last hurrah for them because that was the last time they would all be together in that scenario. It was something to be said about that moment. And I think that we won't. I think we'll flash back to that moment when they go into next week's episode and begin talking about how they're going to strategize to save their lives against Olivia's father. Olivia is safe. Olivia is safe. It's those others you got to be careful of.
Absolutely. Absolutely, LBJ. And you know what? We're saying Olivia's safe, but you also have to remember Rowan has now gone on the record a few times as saying that he has no daughter and that he has no more allegiance to Olivia. So LBJ, is her life at risk as well? It's possible. I mean, D Hill raises the really great question: what if Rowan was the one behind Olivia's kidnapping and just used the former vice president as cover? It's very possible, LBJ. How many times have we started to think that we understand a storyline only to find out that there were other forces at play way back in the beginning? So it's so possible, D Hill. Thank you for raising that. I mean, what if all of this has been a manipulation of Olivia?
It is a manipulation of Olivia. It is manipulation of Olivia.
By Rowan.
But totally by Rowan. And Rowan means what he says. Olivia, again, you judge me because I say this, but Olivia is Rowan's daughter, Janiyah, and he's got to protect his investment. That's his only investment here. Of course, he's a paleontologist at the Smithsonian, and he knows nothing about B613 and all this other jazz. But the way that he shook his child at the end of that episode, when he had to get into her head what he was going to do, he did that as a father, not as a father that doesn't have a daughter. No, he did that as a father who has some kind of compassion for his daughter. I don't know. Maybe I am some kind of deviant because I see the good in the situation. But hey, I don't know. Maybe I am. I will accept that. I will own that. But I definitely think that Rowan and Olivia are our father and daughter, and that's their relationship. I mean, like, he spoke and she cried one time. Like, parents have that power over children sometimes.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what happens. While we're talking about what happens, do you have any predictions before predictions? No, let's do takeaways. Any takeaways from tonight's episode?
LBJ, I have one. And, there was a point when they were really excited about the bill, LBJ. And it was, again, I think it was Shonda once again using her platform very thoughtfully. There was a point where they were really sure that the bill was about to get signed. And Cyrus gets really super jazzed. And he starts talking about, oh, my goodness, we're going to get the Black vote. Black people are going to love when this bill passes. There's going to be Black people voting for Republicans, yada, yada, yada. And LBJ, that scene really resonated because it really reminded me that, when you have a win in your life, who else is celebrating? And is everyone celebrating because they support your goals? Is everyone celebrating because they appreciate the positive impacts in your life? LBJ, it was just one of those moments where I kind of thought, you know what? Every time you think you're winning, there's a possibility that someone is looking at that win and, finding some other kind of way to, leverage that win for their own good. So again, it's just one of those thinking moments, stepping back to say, who is celebrating with you in those moments and why? Something to think about. Do you have any takeaways, LBJ?
My takeaway is, by the way, that was good, Janiyah. That was very good. It was quasi-mushy. I'll give you that. Yeah. So congrats and kudos on that takeaway. My takeaway deals in the regard, it goes back to the moment where they were trying to figure out what was going on. They're trying to put the missing pieces in the puzzle of the murder of the mayor's wife. And by the way, sidebar, did you notice how a lot of DC mayors like to use the B word, folks? On tonight's episode of Scandal, the mayor says, the B got what she deserved. And to me, that was a ode to the deceased former mayor of DC, Marion Barry, when he was caught in the Mayflower Hotel. And he said the B set him up. I think that it definitely pulled from real life when they used that line. I caught it. I was listening.
Good catch, LBJ.
Another thing I caught in the episode, sidebar again, folks. I'm all over the place tonight. Another thing I caught in the episode tonight was when they were talking about the pigeons, and he was causing when Cyrus was calling Susan Ross the pigeon, and he says he's like, yeah, don't make that pigeon make any noise. Did you notice how they used they put a quick snippet of a pigeon in the park outside of the White House going, and then they cut to the next scene? Did you pick up on that tonight?
LBJ, I missed that.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so happy you caught it, though. I'm so happy you caught it.
It was so random, but again, I paid attention.
Not take anything for granted in this show. Not 1 second.
You can't take things for granted, and that leads me really into my takeaway. My takeaway really is pay attention to the details, because everything you see for a reason. We are not put here to go through life haphazardly, like, oh, just everything is, flowers and gravy and flowers that bloom. Yeah. And April showers bringing May flowers. No. That's not why we're here, people. We're here to do something better. We're here to make this place greater, make it greater for someone that's going to come after us. Blaze a new trail, put down pebbles so somebody else can blaze the trail behind you. Pay attention to the details while you're doing it. If you pay attention to the details, you would have seen that pigeon in tonight's episode. Maybe you would have seen the Marion Barry pull with that line. That's what I got from that. But I also, plain and see in the script tonight, it was when they were trying to figure out who murdered the mayor's wife, and Marcus, I was going to call him by his real name, Cornelius. Marcus says, wait, they called one guy Mickey. They called him Mickey. So looking for Mickey, they couldn't find a Mickey. Olivia says, okay, look at the guy here. And it's almost like a what's missing from this picture puzzle that you see in like the Highlights magazine in the dentist office when you were a kid. And they say, like, try to find what the clue is.
What's out of place in this picture?
Right, exactly. What's out of place in this picture? And you see a man with like random bandage on his hand right there.
Yes.
Then random bandage on his hand is not leading. They're like, well, he got in a fight. That's clue number one. Olivia says, look a little bit closer. You see what they call him Mickey? And they're like, oh, yeah, his ears look like Mickey Mouse. And therein was the answer for the missing piece to the puzzle. Folks, if you really pay attention sometimes, it's right there in front of you. My mother says, if it was a snake, it would have jumped out and bit you. I don't see snakes jumping out and biting you, but whatever. Hey, maybe they will.
But you get the gist. You get the gist.
You totally get the gist. So pay attention to the details. It's not about enjoying the view. It's really about paying attention. But don't pay attention to the point where you become a conspiracy theorist, but pay attention. Janiyah, that ends my takeaway. What are your predictions for next week's episode?
LBJ, I am hoping to see some more Marcus next episode. I feel like now that Melly has officially put her hat out there, LBJ, I'm definitely expecting to see some antics related to her campaign. LBJ, there's so much more to be seen from Lizzie Ross DeGeneres, because in tonight's episode, she made her mark. She really stepped out and made a pivotal statement during some of the campaign planning. So, more antics related to the campaign. Definitely expecting VP Susan to continue to throw down that gauntlet in the way that she does it, to kind of show that she is a force to be reckoned with. And the fact that the bill didn't pass tonight, LBJ, means that we will continue to talk about that bill a little bit longer. So we're going to continue to talk more about, getting some controls into the police departments. So those are the things I think we'll see next week. And that, of course, LBJ, I'll leave space for you to make some predictions about Rowan.
So who says I'm gonna make a prediction about Rowan? I don't know. Rowan is about to wreak havoc in everyone's life in this show. And Rowan is going to come and he's going to do the little shifting and adjusting. He's going to do some shaking and he's going to do some making. He's gonna just come in and just wrap it all up in Scandal season 4 for the remainder of this season. I am on board with you, Janiyah, when it comes to the vice president. The vice president is going to the vice president is going to make a mark that we are totally not expecting before this show is over. Something's going to happen that's bigger than her in the Rose Garden. Something's going to happen that's going to be like politically big for a vice president to do, and she might even speak out, or she's not going to leave. She's going to make some waves that's going to cause some people to snatch their wigs off.
Yeah, she is.
And I think also that Melly is going to become even more of a messy Melly in this campaign that she started. Remember, we met her sister. We have not seen the end of her sister. We might meet more members of her family. And you thought you saw Honey Boo Boo and family get canceled off of TLC. Well, they probably signed a contract to come on Scandal. Because we're going to see more of Melly's family come out of the woodworks as it relates to her campaign and the stories that they're going to tell. And that's where Lizzie Bear DeGeneres is going to have to come back into play, Janiyah, when it comes to Melly's campaign. Olivia probably will play a key role in trying to fix this, but she's going to lose her stuff when she realizes that her dad is coming to try to snipe her people and snatching their life from left and right, and they won't know what to do. Before it's all said and done, you know who we're going to see?
Who, LBJ?
Janiyah, you don't know who we're going to see?
I think I know who you're thinking, but I think all of the people of the world, all of America, all of the international viewers would much rather you, LBJ, tell us who you think we're going to see again.
We're going to see the one person who says these 2 words, and every time this person says these 2 words, I yell because it's so good. And you know what those 2 words are going to be, Janiyah?
I know what they are, LBJ. Is it, hey, Livy?
Yes.
But LBJ, we want you to do it.
I'm sitting there all chained to the table.
Yes.
You know, she's going to be all chained to the table like, hi, Livy. Breath and everything. She's gonna be here.
LBJ
You're
is
going
so
to see
good.
Maya Pope. Maya Pope is gonna come back, folks. I don't know if they gave her. We don't know if they gave her the cable in that cell where she can watch her daughter on that TV. Remember, when we last left Maya, she was making requests. She said, "I want a house with a picket fence in front of it. I want a TV with cable so I can see my baby." She had all these demands. We don't know if she got that yet. So let's see what happens where Maya is before the season's over. Maya Pope is coming back within the next 2 to 3 episodes. Mark my words.
LBJ, there's only 2 episodes left in this season.
Oh, so, shoot. Okay, well, yes. She's coming back. She's coming back in 2 episodes, people.
LBJ, I was just going to say, we sure made a lot of predictions for there to be only 2 episodes left. You know, so LBJ, there's a lot of ground to cover. And you know, LBJ, a lot of people are speculating, you know, and I think Candace Brown sums it up in the chat. She said, if they bring down B613, what happens to the show? Is this the beginning of the end? LBJ, you know, you and I have just raised a bunch of predictions and a bunch of storylines, but the reality is, LBJ, a lot of the key storylines could be heading toward wrapping up. Who knows?
I totally agree with that. I believe that, you know, the end could be near for the show. I don't think that it would be a bad thing. I think that it's going to be a pretty epic ending when it does happen. And we are all going to be like, oh, shoot, this is going to be crazy. And maybe next season will be the last season of the show. We do know, based on an interview Shonda Rhimes did, that she said she does know, in fact, how she wants the show to end, but she does not know how she's going to get to that ending. So it could be that. You were talking about Candace Brown's prediction in the Q&A. I think it's appropriate that we do around Robin. Out the gate, the top comment right now is from Kimmy J, and it's about what? The nectar. It's about the nectar. Nectar on 10, Kimmy J. You're right. That nectar was completely dripping all over the place. It was dripping so much. Dan Blakemore says, oh, not overflowing nectar. Hashtag somebody get a mop.
Yes.
Mop it up. Just mop it up.
Please mop it up. And LBJ, there were a couple of other people that saw the pigeon. Deborah Battle said, I saw the pigeon too. Dan Blakemore said, I saw that pigeon in the transition, LBJ. So glad that I wasn't the only one. We have our sleuths in the chat, LBJ.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Candace agrees with you, Janiyah, when you were talking about women having more influence over us. She says, Janiyah, yes, we have more influence than the men realize. Womp,
yeah.
Womp, womp,
yeah.
wonka,
hate to let the cat out of the bag, guys, but the truth, it will set you free. Dan Blakemore said, you know, Janiyah, the meaning of Russell and Liv is just like how we thought those B613 agents were regular people before they got massacred in that safe house. It's so true, LBJ. You just never know who was waiting in the shadows with the machete.
Dan Blakemer's back here again. He says, yes, hashtag bring back harmony. Remember, everybody, that's Melanie. Melly's.
She was horrible.
That's Melly's sister. I don't call her Melanie.
Oh, she
that's
was
Melly's sister, Harmony. She was so good. She was so good.
She was so good because she was so bad. She really was. I mean, it was just, yeah. LBJ, D Hills in the chat. She said, hashtag Rowan Pope, the myth, the legend. If Rowan kills Olivia, Maya will get him. Whew! Let me tell you, if there's one thing that's going to have Maya chewing out her wrists again, it'll be if Rowan does something to Olivia. I got to agree with you, D Hill.
Yeah, but Deborah Battle agrees with me, though. And I think she agrees with you because you agree with me. Hashtag Deborah Battle, hashtag Mama Pope, I need her back.
Yes.
Mama Pope, we have missed you. We've terribly missed. We missed you something terrible. I would not be surprised, Naya. Now that I think about this, I would not be surprised if Rowan has gone in, sniped everyone in that prison cell in that cell block where Maya is, and let her out. Like only unleashed that for her to just wreak havoc along with him. The mama and daddy's all back together again to bring daughter back to ground zero.
Gosh, you know what? For all we know, LBJ, she could have been in cahoots the whole time. You know? LBJ, you know, there are a few people in the chat who are mourning with me. You know, Glinda Wyndham says, R.I.P. Jake. Oh my gosh. If I had a water bottle here, I'd tip a little juice for my homie. You know, it's Yolanda Baker. What? Jake dead? Olivia sex boo a killer? Working with Roland? OMG, I've heard rumors that this might be the last season. Raising that question again, the death of Jake in particular is making us all feel like there are more closures coming.
There are going to be more closures, but this is not the end, folks. We've got at least one more season. We can write this.
I think you're right. There's one more. Oh,
Dan Blakemore is giving me more instructions, everyone. He says, perhaps I wasn't clear. He's talking to me about my Rowan Pope voice. Yes. Don't use that Papa Pope voice, LBJ. Hashtag, the more you know.
And D Hill, once again, we're just so mourning Jake. She said, hashtag, Jake was not ready. You know, she also talked about Papa Pope. Papa Pope told Fitz that he made her last season. Olivia does indeed have daddy issues. My gosh, daddy issues cubed to the infinite power. I mean, she is messed up in the game, LBJ, over her father.
She is messed up in the game, and I think our game is over for the night. I have enjoyed this conversation with you, Janiyah, and I've enjoyed the conversation with all of you watching in the Q&A and on YouTube and on Facebook. Shout out to Kat in Harlem, who also made a comment tonight, and on the Google Plus page, Kat in Harlem is watching there. She said, personally, I'm glad to see Jake from State Farm exit the scene. I just hate that Russell was the killer. I thought that would be an awesome little round robin to throw in there before we shut tonight down. Any last words tonight before we go?
Yeah, LVJ. Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited to spend the evening with everybody. This was so much fun, and we'll see you next week. We have 2 episodes left.
What will happen in those 2 episodes? Nobody knows but the people who work on this show. Until then, we will be here right here live on YouTube each and every Thursday after Scandal. Make sure you tell your friends about the hashtag Scandal Recap. We thank you all so much. We love you for watching. We will see you next time. Feel free to share this with your friends. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Good night.